There's a story from the Jewish Talmud about a wise and powerful king that was rich beyond compare, but yet he was not content. He confessed to the wise men around him that he was often too depressed by life. And moreover, he said, if things did go his way, he didn't trust that they would last. And if they don't, his troubles would never end. Now the king put great stock in his dreams. So when he dreamt that there was a ring that contained the knowledge that would bring him peace of mind, he sent his advisors out to search for this ring with the command to have it back by the Jewish festival of Sukkot. This gave his advisors 6 months to search for the ring. The advisors searched all over for this powerful ring. They went to the finest jewelers and goldsmiths in Jerusalem, but no one had ever heard of it. They traveled to Damascus, to Babylon, to Egypt, and many other faraway places. But they had no success finding the ring. Finally, 6 months passed, and it was the last night before Sukkot. The advisors still hadn't found the ring, so they gave up. All but one of the youngest advisors. He was so disappointed at their failure that he couldn't sleep. So he walked the streets throughout the night. And when morning finally came, he found himself in the poorest section of town. And there he saw an old man setting out his trinkets for sale. So in one last desperate attempt, he described the ring to him. The old man was quiet for a moment, and finally he smiled, went inside his simple home, and returned with a plain gold ring. With a sharp tool, he engraved something on it and laid it in the advisor's hand. As the wise man read what was written on the ring, he began to rejoice. That was the ring he'd been searching for. He gave the old man all the money that he had and rushed back to the palace. On the evening of the festival, the king asked the advisors if they'd found the ring. And the young advisor came forward and placed the ring in the hand of the king. The king read the Hebrew words that were engraved there, which translated to mean, "This too shall pass." As the king read the words, his sorrow turned to joy, and his joys to sorrows. Then both gave way to peace. He was reminded that all his riches and glory were impermanent, and so his sorrows too would pass away, as the seasons and the years. From that time on, the king wore the ring as a reminder that in good times and bad, this too shall pass. Several weeks ago, I had conversations with a couple of women that recounted some of the challenges that they are facing. And as I listened, I realized that most of what these women were experiencing are some of the same challenges that I've experienced in my life. So I told them my story that related to the stories that they had recounted to me. And I said, no matter how painful the challenge, nothing lasts forever. But I was left wondering if they had received my words as trite or wisdom that is tried and true. You see, throughout history, people have faced, entered into, survived, and come out on the other side of turbulence that's wrought by the circumstances of life. We know this through reading historical accounts. We see it in the daily news. We view it on the television screens and through our own personal experiences. We know about human weaknesses and poor choices. We are a vast collection of individual emotional stress, different states, and each following another in rapid succession. First, we're angry. Then, we're happy. We're sad. Then, amused. And then, we're heartbroken. None of these emotional states last more than a few minutes or a few hours. For some of us, when we look at our personal lives with our families, personal relationships, our children, our work, our health, finances, even our church, in all places, we stare into the unknown. In an effort to sort through it all, some of us find ourselves wondering if all of this will overwhelm and harden all our hearts, our human hearts. As a nation, what seems uppermost on the collective mind is the state of our economy, both national and global. I've heard many older Americans compare our fragile economy to that of the Great Depression, which has been described as the most devastating economic crash in this country's history. Now, I didn't experience it, and I don't have personal connections to anyone who has given me a firsthand account of what it was like. However, I did live through what came to be known as the era of Reaganomics. And during the administration of the late President Ronald Reagan, where legislation and a parallel tax system hit middle-class Americans the hardest. My husband and I were homeowners and had children in private schools, so we felt the brunt of it. But while we were sorely challenged, we managed to come through because we were called to dig deep within, down to our core, and find the parts of ourselves that we hardly knew that we possessed. You see, life is full of ups and downs, but for a new history and for hope to rise, we must believe in more than uncertainty. The Nobel laureate Seamus Haney writes that we should hope for a great sea change. We must believe that a further shore is reachable from here. As Unitarian Universalists, we have various dialects of spirit. Some of us believe in a higher power, others not. However, I think that all of us believe in the indomitable human spirit because we believe in an inner strength that lets us reach through the uncertainty in all of our lives, to remember who we are and what we know that we are capable of. We believe that strength is found within. We believe that we can lift ourselves up toward a human hope. Why? because every one of us has faced the hard nights, the long illnesses, and the deep despairs. We've experienced moments when we felt something greater than our own failure and suffering. We've seen glimpses beyond the differences and divisions, glimpses of a hidden wholeness between all people and a hidden wholeness within all creation. Those experiences help us hope and believe that we can lift ourselves up to find strength within. Moreover, we know what happens personally and globally when we forget who and what we are. The poet Rabindranath Tagore writes that all things rush on. They don't stop or look behind. He continues saying that even those things that seem to be permanent and unchanging are actually impermanent and are changing all the time. We are ordinary people with limitations, but concealed deep inside lays the best part, the part that we hide from each other. Hiding away is what keeps us from peace, but for some reason, we seem to rise to the occasion of a crisis. We call forth the wisdom and the spirit of the teacher, the healer, and the master. In crisis mode, we do some of our best work. If you recall, from 9/11 and Katrina to Knoxville and now to Ferguson, we call up skills that lay dormant to make time for each other. People reach out and forge new and positive relationships and renewed fractured relationships. We do this because we are reminded of the transitory nature of things. And for a while, we appreciate what really matters: people and our relationship to each other. Somehow we believe in Haney's sea change and the possibility of a reachable shore with curves and healing wells, and that hope and history will somehow rise up as justice. However, I am aware that equating tragedies and with crises is subjective through personal experiences. And there will always be something waiting in the wings to spring on us, upsetting the natural order of our lives. But as awful and frightening as we might view the state of the world, and as confusing and conflicted as we may find circumstances in our personal lives or in our community, there is no need to search for the magic ring with some secret knowledge, because our life experiences have taught us that while we may face challenging times, nothing is permanent. Not the economic crisis or the budget shortfalls, not our joys or our sorrows, for all of this too shall pass. From my heart to yours, may it be so. As you leave today, remember, sorrow will one day turn to joy. All that breaks the heart and oppresses the soul will one day give place to peace and understanding, and everyone will be free.